So, my true objective opinion through all of the research I have showed you is Trump's first 100 days is going to set a standard and precedent that'll ring true for decades to come. He's the one that is going to take this asset class to the next level. And I'm glad that he's been infected by the bug. I'm glad that he is getting the biggest organizations in America, like the SEC, to stop playing these games. You should be rejoicing that Trump is our president for crypto specifically. I'm sure there's tons of things that you don't like about him, and that's okay. This is America. We can love each other through our differences. I believe that. We have to become more fiscally responsible, and that's exactly what Doge is for. Department of Government Efficiency. He basically wants to audit every department and have every dollar accounted for. That is, not only is it the libertarian wet dream we've been talking about, but that is actually going to help us become fiscally responsible. So you're not able to buy oil, and you're not able to trade with the dollar. And since we only trade in dollars, you basically can't trade with America. That is why Colombia, inside of 12 hours, backed down the second he said, "Okay, you don't want to pay tariff? Sanction. You don't want to take your illegal immigrants back? Sanction." It literally got through the House and Senate, bipartisan, got vetoed by Biden. Just run that through again, get that in there. As soon as that happens, you're going to be able to have ETFs for pretty much any token on Coinbase. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy JT, and we are back to the Crypto Den. I want to thank you all for tuning in today. This is going to be a long one. We're going to go deep, and I mean deep, into Trump, his election, what it means, what it'll be doing to our industry, all of the tokens that we love and we talk about on this channel, how it's going to affect those coming up in the future. We're going to go into all of his policies, how it could affect macroeconomic statuses of different countries. I want to give you the most objective rendering and accounting of all of these things because it is really impactful, it's really big, and it could be massive for crypto, but there's also things that could be bad for the economy in general. And it's important to understand all of these things. If you're investing in this space or you're just trying to be educated on the technology, this information will be good for you. Okay? So, with that, for those who do not know, before we get into it, my name is Jake Tullis. I also go by JT. And I have 10 plus years of software development experience. I currently have a hedge fund called Bleeding Edge Capital, where I manage high net worth individual and accredited and qualified money from advisors and other individuals that manage capital professionally in my fund. And the fund is 100% crypto. So this channel is where I come to talk about all of my research, thoughts, predictions, and just kind of talk out loud to the internet in hopes of educating. This is not financial advice, never will be. It is just me giving you all my opinions and talking about the computer science and the technical aspects of crypto and blockchain technology to help you guys make better decisions for your family. You know, you need to be educated. You need to understand what you are buying if you are investing. And I'm here to try to help you make better decisions at the end of the day. So, with that, let's get over to President of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump.
Make the United States a manufacturing superpower and the world capital of artificial intelligence and crypto.
World capital of artificial intelligence and crypto. So right out the gate, he's at Davos. Davos is where they host the World Economic Forum. It's where all the multi-billionaires, probably the largest players in the world, hang out. And as the president, he is letting everyone know that he is going to prioritize AI and crypto. Before this, just in case you guys didn't know, we had Choke Point 2.0, Okay? And this goes right into Trump, by the way, getting rid of this. But this is what we've been dealing with the past 4 years. Then we had choke point 1.0 before Trump came in. So there was choke point, Trump, then choke point 2.0 with Biden. And all of this is honestly uh, Obama Operation Choke Point. See, basically, up until Trump, we've been dealing with an anti crypto environment. Us getting a president that was just neutral, okay, right in the middle, would have been fine. Like that would have honestly, I think the markets would have responded really well to just a neutral environment because it would have been a net positive since we've been in a negative environment. You have Trump at Davos.
Make the United States a manufacturing superpower and the world capital of artificial intelligence and crypto.
You have the president saying that. So we went from, let's say there's a scale, -50, +50, all the way to zero, okay, on the spectrum. We went from a -42, okay? It was like, I don't know what could have been worse outside of like arresting and auditing everyone with crypto, like, okay, fine, -35. And then we go from that to probably +30, +40. This is a 180-degree spin from what we've been dealing with. Okay, so it's important just from before we get into the depth and the nitty gritty, from the top of the umbrella, you need to understand the meta of what has happened for crypto. You have our environment in America. It's a global thing, okay? So America isn't the end all be all. In fact, it's only about 16% of the market. It was 25%. So they've been with choke points. They've literally made this such a bad environment. They are driving capital out of the country. And that's why Trump is taking this so seriously. Most major crypto companies are considering leaving America until this happened. So the conversation at every single level has changed. We don't like professionals in the space don't have to explain anything about crypto if from a it's not illegal, like all of the negative stigma is immediately reversed when the president of the United States says this at Davos. Also, we have a president, this is the meta still, with a DeFi project. Look at this. This is the President of the United States website, World Liberty Financial. It is a token. It's the President of the United States, guys. So he has his own DeFi project called World Liberty Financial. So, from the meta perspective, top down, we went from a negative to a extremely positive environment with the president of the United States actually having vested interests with his children. Okay, his one of his children or his son, one of his sons runs World Liberty Financial Group. So he has his family wrapped up in crypto now. That in general, it's important to know this is my I know I'm going to sound like a fanboy this whole hour, okay? But it's objectively true what I'm telling you. That the choke point is now turning into this, okay? So please don't think I'm a Trump rider. I'm just telling you all that the fact that Trump is here has changed the conversations, and that's really important to understand. So he has a vested interest in all of this. Um, I think the very first thing to understand and really go into is going to be, and you know what? Honestly, all of this stuff literally plays into what I'm talking about here. World Liberty Financial, Trump Coin, David Sachs, right? These are some of the appointments that he's making. Okay, I really wanted to get into this Gensler thing though because these are all of the lawsuits. Note the far right corner here. Look how long you'd have to scroll. Hundreds of lawsuits, guys. Hundreds. of lawsuits that are against the SEC. I'm sorry, that the SEC has against crypto people. Now, I'm not saying all of these crypto people are innocent because that's not true. There are scam artists. There are awful things going on all the time. Okay, so I'm not saying that, but in general, the SEC has not been clear about what an unregistered security is or an unregistered commodity is, meaning there's nowhere to register digital assets, and they've taken a position of, we're just a chill guy figuring it out, da, 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 and then sued as soon as they can. They hit you with a Wells notice and they sue you. And that has been Gary Gensler's thing for a long time. Gensler has been attacking crypto. Okay, um, the fact that Gensler has left, and this is something that you need to understand about Trump. Okay, he said,
and to ensure that the United States will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world, and we'll get it done. If crypto is going to define the future, I want to be mined, minted, and made in the USA. It's going to be. It's not going to be made anywhere else. And if Bitcoin is going to the moon, as we say, it's going to the moon, I want America to be the nation that leads the way. And that's what's going to happen. I pledge to the Bitcoin community that the day I take the oath of office, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's anti-crypto crusade will be over. It will end. It'll be done.
anti-crypto crusade. If you've, again, been unaware, that's been real. That's been happening. We've established that. There's been a war against crypto for a long time. Okay.
It'll be done. On day one, I will fire Gary Gensler and appoint a new SEC chairman.
Standing ovation, guys. Look at that. Look at that. Standing ovation. Like, okay, so he kept his promise. You get it now. All right. We went from a negative environment to a positive environment, and now we are getting from a negative SEC to a positive SEC. So not only is Trump saying things about crypto that pumps news and news pumps price, right? You're also going to have this thing, right, where the SEC is no longer going to be almost criminal in their enforcement of regulations that don't even exist. So Trump is putting all the assets in place to support crypto here in America. He wants to undo all the things that Gensler and the Democrats have done to this point, which is all this stuff. So he basically appoints Hester Pierce. Trump gave her an appointment back in 2018. I want to find Crypto Task Force. Here we go. So another thing he's doing, this is the gentleman that is at the SEC as the chairman right now until Paul Atkins gets appointed. Trump is appointing Paul Atkins, who is great, and we're going to get into that in a second. So you have this Mark Ueda guy. He is basically, under Trump's request, creating a crypto task force, and he's giving Hester Pierce, which is Trump's appointed chairperson from 2018, he's giving her charge of it. Okay, and she is going to go through every single one of these lawsuits. Like, this one's real, this one needs to exist. Okay, this guy was a bad guy, and there's other people like that, but she's going to review every single case, and she's going to basically motion to dismiss anything that made no sense to her. And she wrote dissent opinions to the majority of these cases. So it's basically the person inside the SEC that was fed up with how Gary was running things is now in charge of a crypto task force. So that's really, really, really bullish. Again, the SEC is becoming positive when it was negative. Another thing that I promised I would get to is the fact that Paul Atkins, okay, has been nominated of Paul Atkins for Securities and Exchange Commission, right? Out of Virginia. Since Gary Gensler resigned. Yeah, that's the thing. Gary resigned after that Bitcoin conference. I mean, he said on day one, the second Trump won, he was out of there. He notified us. Um, it's also really important to know who this gentleman is. So this is about to be the replacement for Gary Gensler. Take a look at that. Nominee, assuming office, waiting. Okay. So he's a lawyer. That's important to know. Known for advocating reduced regulatory burdens and promoting financial innovation, Atkins has been a vocal supporter of free market principles in regulatory policy. We went from a minus 50 to a plus 50 in the SEC because of Trump. Peirce and Atkins, you're not going to see this in the first few months, really, the work they're going to do this year. Q2, Q3, you're going to see some of these things that they're about to do completely change everything about crypto, honestly. And this gentleman is very, very smart with crypto. He, I want to see if it's in this or not. Yeah, he also doesn't like fraud or Ponzi's, which is pretty true of anyone in the SEC. Paul Atkins, crypto. There he is. This guy. This guy's gonna do some crazy stuff here. So I apologize. I'm looking for. Here we go. Okay. I just saw it. There we go. Token Alliance, a lobbying group and initiative of the Chamber of Digital Commerce. He will replace acting chairman Gary Gensler. So this gentleman, I wanted to get evidence of this before I talked about it. Paul Atkins is also a native of crypto and he's involved in the crypto space. He does blockchain consulting. He's also part of this lobbyist group that educates our regulators on the technology. So this guy knows what crypto is. He is a part of the community. He has some of his net worth in crypto and he is about to be the SEC chairman. So those are some really, obviously, really, 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 really good things. Okay. Because of that sets the stage. The SEC has been the gun to crypto's head, and Democrats have been the one spamming fire and forgot the safety was on. They would have axed crypto if they could. Absolutely axed it. We went from living like that to now being, pampered. We get shower, we get hot meal 3 times a day. We're vibing, and there's no walls, there's no fences, and you're out in freedom. You get to go get some land and start a family, whatever. We're moving to the promised land now. So I think it's really important to understand that environment change. All of that's done, and since that's happening, we have states introducing legislation to become holders of Bitcoin. Now, I don't want to speculate and I don't want to represent something I'm unsure of, but what I can say is if this is allowed and you have the 50 states competing for their own treasuries for Bitcoin, and you also have the government, the federal government, trying to do the same thing, what's going to happen is two things. You're going to have foreign nations see the United States of America do this. You're going to have foreign nations observe the United States of America buying Bitcoin at a volume that makes them uncomfortable, I would imagine. Okay. And everyone looks to America. We lead in GDP. Like, it's hard not to look at the biggest dog in the room and be like, how did you get so big? Right? Everyone looks to America. And that's really important about the environment, again, guys, because as soon as that stuff starts happening in America, the rest of the world's going to look to our regulations and be like, you know what, just copy them. Just copy them. Europe beat us to this 2 years ago. Singapore and certain areas in Asia have beat us almost 3 years now. So, like, and China's got their own digital currency. I mean, we're way behind in this industry, and Bitcoin's above 100K. So, we're speculating. But okay, so you have states pining for authorization to buy Bitcoin because they've been terrified to do it because of the environment. And then you have this Senator Loomis. She is going to chair the Senate Banking Subcommittee on Digital Assets. So the last thing about I'm just going to keep coming back to the environment because this is about Trump coming in, and you need to understand how impactful this is. There's a subcommittee on digital assets in the Senate. Trump also has the Senate and the House, right? Biden vetoed multiple bipartisan crypto bills, vetoed them hard. He now has all of the levers he needs to get legislation passed. This senator, Loomis, this is not the first time she's done it. She would do this all the time. She has basically tried to peddle a Bitcoin treasury since I want to say 2018, where she wants America to have 1 million Bitcoins, period. And she's tried to get the Bitcoin Act, and she's tried to get more and more and more and more support for a strategic Bitcoin reserve. She has been doing this for a very long time, if you did not know. Um, I mean, how many senators from Wyoming do you know with 350,000 followers, followed by documenting Bitcoin? Like, she is very pro crypto, okay? So you have Trump giving this senator access to the subcommittee of digital assets in the Senate. She's going to get legislation passed. It's going to create a treasury. So with Trump coming in, changing the environment, and also changing the relationship of the government to crypto, that fundamentally is going to accelerate so many things. It's going to be it's going to be intoxicating. It's going to be intense for a little bit. I think, and this, you know what, this is important to note as well here. I don't want to go too far into this. I have plenty of videos on CBDCs and what they are and how they're basically the worst thing that could ever exist. Okay. But he is signing executive orders to protect us from central bank digital currencies, vowing that the federal government will never control a central bank currency, that it can monitor how we spend every penny. So that is incredible. That is massive. We also have I forgot about this too. Yeah. Per Reuters and Fox News, a national digital asset stockpile. Notice how he didn't say Bitcoin. He said digital asset stockpile, a crypto working group by Reuters. He's running through executive orders to make this stuff mainstream and to be used everywhere. So that's big. And then you have the IUAIDA guy from the SEC, right? The guy that was left after Gensler resigned. You also have him doing stuff like this. SAB 122 or 121. It was, yeah. This was basically something that Biden did that did not allow banks to account for crypto or digital assets. That's been reversed by the SEC, which is really, 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 really good. That is really good. That means banks can actually start comfortably, especially with everything that's going on. Banks are going to be able to actually turn on all of their blockchain solutions they've been building in exile. Okay, JP Morgan released Onyx Coin. They've been building that since 2017. Um, you're about to see XRP turn on actual banking customers for the first time ever. They apparently have 1,400 agreements executed that have been waiting for things like this to get out of the SEC's crosshairs, and that just happened. That's why XRP is up almost 5x. Pretty wild. You have his son Don Jr. in charge of the World Liberty Financial. We had hit on that earlier, but it's important to note that this is how much they're buying. Now, they need the Aave. Well, I don't want to get into the technicals of this. We're talking about Trump today, but it's important to note that they are investing in Ethereum infrastructure. The president of the United States is choosing Ethereum, they're investing in it, and they are buying tokens that are on the Ethereum virtual machine that support it, right? For the most part, like ENA, Link, Aave, Wrapped Bitcoin, and Ethereum. Those are all ETH tokens. Everything but Tron. And Tron probably because of all the stable coins. We don't need to get into that though. So you have in the beginning Trump's activities and his family's activities are the most pro crypto thing you could see. And he is making fundamental changes to literally how we do everything in America. And it's all good for crypto. I would feel awful if I did not own crypto right now because this is some of the most bullish stuff to come through the pipe in a very long time for crypto. Hey everybody, it's JT. Just in case you didn't know, I would love a sub. Almost 97% of you that have viewed our content have not subscribed, and it would mean the world to me if you just hit that sub button, give us a like, and let us know how we're doing. All right, back to the content. Now we can get into some more. Actually, we're going to change faces here. Another thing to identify or discuss is going to be some of his policies specifically. This is where we're going to get into some of his decisions he's making outside of just executive orders and appointments. So you have this idea that US based crypto projects are going to benefit from zero capital gains. Zero capital gains. That's huge. Yeah, see, look at this. XRP, H bar, zero capital gains tasks. People are going to buy things that are American just for the no taxes because they think a lot of it's correlated to Bitcoin anyways. Um, this could play a major role because it's twofold. And I want to come back to me real quick. It's twofold because you're going to incentivize capital to flow to these projects. And then the second order consequence of that, right, is going to be projects are going to want to flow to America. This is him making good on his promise, and he's using basic free market principles. He's incentivizing everybody to get on his page, and his page is good for crypto. It's important to know that. He is going to incentivize fund managers like me to invest in crypto to reduce my tax burden. Because if you give me money and I can tell you that we're already up day one, 20% to 50% of federal and state income taxes, like you're never going to pay taxes on my fund. If I could say that, I'm it's going to be real easy to raise some money, right? So everyone's going to be doing that. If you're a crypto fund, you're going to want to do that. Like big money's going to move into them. That's going to then create this concept that American blockchain companies do better than non-American blockchain companies. So then everyone's going to want to come to America for Paul Atkins, for the new SEC, and for Trump because he'll be the biggest advocate on the global platform for crypto. He has a crypto company. His son is a crypto founder. Like, that's what's happening. He's got meme coins. His wife has a meme coin. He's got NFTs. He personally has tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, on chain. It's going to happen. So the incentives are there. That's going to go into effect, and you're going to see a burgeoning interest in American soil for building blockchain, which is just amazing. And I couldn't be happier about that. It's very, very good. So it's important to know that very soon Trump is going to make American-based crypto tax-free, which is just wow. Another thing to talk about is going to be Elon Musk and why he's on my sheet for Trump's first 100 days. Okay. You have literally Department of Government Efficiency executive order being implemented. And Elon Musk is one of the main people in charge of it. Basically, they are going to be auditing every department of the federal government. They are going to account for every dollar that was spent. Trump is lifting up the kimono of the entire swamp that is the United States federal government and letting Elon have access to that stuff, who can get 200 million views in a tweet. So get ready because there's going to be serious stuff disclosed to us, I believe. I think we're going to have fundamental reform of the federal government's role. Trump is already talking about bringing stuff to a state level. You already have states like basically asking the federal government for some freedoms. And I think Trump's going to give it to them. This is a libertarian's wet dream, in my opinion. And honestly, I couldn't be more shocked. Trump has really taken a more libertarian approach, talking about tariffs and all this other stuff, which we need to get into. Because all of this bullishness we've talked about so far is great. And the United States of America will always be, from here on out, will be the center stage of crypto. I genuinely believe in the next 2 years, because we don't know if Trump's going to have the Senate or the House, right? We don't know that. But for the next 2 years, at least, I believe the United States is going to make serious moves that is going to allow them to be the center stage of crypto and blockchain. I really do. That's Trump's mission. That's his goal. He has hit every single note he promised to. And I would be absolutely shocked if he did not take the industry from moving zero to backpedaling to now taking leaps forward, leaps, literally leaps. We're skipping inches, we're skipping feet, we're skipping walking, jogging, running, sprinting. We are leaping, guys. I think it's going to be crazy. Just know, like, there was a bill, actually, here, this is, there was a bill called Fit 21. So, Fit 21, oh my God, did they? All right, they still have the bill here, which is nice. So Fit 21, this was a legitimate thing. It was voted on. It passed the House. I want to actually see Fit 21 voting. I want to see if here we go. Look at this. I think I just saw it. So I mean, basically what I'm trying, here we go. It passed with 71 votes from Democrats. So this is a bipartisan bill, okay? Fit 21 was a bipartisan bill. What Fit 21 did is it said basically that if a project has a circulating token and that token is available for public sale, if 20% of the circulating token is ever owned by one entity, could be an individual, could be a company, it doesn't matter. That is a security. If And it'll be governed by the Securities Exchange Commission, the SEC. If it doesn't meet that criteria, so if it's anything else, 19%, you know, that is a commodity, and it'll be governed by the CFTC. It had bipartisan support. And the reason why that's so important, all that litigation I showed you, all of the choke point 2.0 things, it's all predicated on the argument that you cannot work with an unregistered security. Fit 21 was going to tell us what agency governs us and then what you are. The day that bill passes, you would know if you're a security or a commodity. Then those agencies would be obligated to come up with a registration process because you are for sure a commodity or for sure a security. We don't have that yet. So the SEC has been able to sue into the dirt. All of that is changing. It is likely, since it was already bipartisan and he could literally not change a word and get the result, he could basically undo the veto of Biden. He owns the House, he owns the Senate. He could get the Fit 21 bill passed. It already passed. It literally got through the House and Senate bipartisan, got vetoed by Biden. Just run that through again, get that in there. As soon as that happens, you're going to be able to have ETFs for pretty much any token on Coinbase. I don't want to get into too much details, but one of the requirements for a crypto to get an ETF would be PCOAB compliance, which is an accounting standard that only tokens on Coinbase qualify for. So it would need to be able to pass a PCOAB audit. And that means FIT21 passes, then any token on Coinbase could theoretically become an ETF because you would know what they are. You need one of two things. You need a market, like a futures market, for a couple years. That's how Ethereum got passed. Same with Bitcoin. Or you have regulatory clarity on what the thing is. If it is a commodity, there's a true process to make an ETF for a commodity. And it's pretty simple, really. It's expensive and it takes time, but it's simple, right? So Trump very well could give in the next 2 years some serious, that's just one example of 2 years, where even after he's gone, even after Democrats, come back and they take the House or they take the Senate, there's going to be things that have been done that will dramatically affect the industry, dramatically affect America, and that'll keep America at center stage, globally. I think that impact, even if it's undone here, will maintain anywhere else that adopts a similar strategy. And I just think we're going to have a Cambrian explosion of interest in American blockchain and crypto. So, another really positive thing about that. Some of the things that I think could be negative, we're going to go to the negative side now. The tariffs, this is more from a macro perspective, okay? Donald Trump is basically doing, it's actually really smart. So there was a period of time, and he talks about it in one of his speeches, but in the late 80s of 1800s up until Teddy Roosevelt was some of our relatively most profitable times. Our GDP and treasuries relative to population and then also inflation by percent basis, it was the best we've ever done. And fundamentally, it makes sense. So if we take a step back and we look at foreign policy of the United States of America, because this world power is changing, we have taken a position of weaponizing our currency. A lot of people don't understand that, but I wanna make sure you do. Okay. In the 70s, we got off the gold standard. And a foreign policy basically was let's consume. Let's consume, 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 consume. So that way, our neighbors are dependent on our GDP. They're dependent on our consumerism. So we ended up importing a lot of stuff. And it did two things. It allowed us to protect our resources, right? Because we're buying other people's resources. Like, hey, pilfer your land. Let's keep ours pristine. Let's keep our resources right where they are. Let's buy your stuff because we can just print money now, right? We don't need gold out of the ground. We can just print money. We'll just print this useless stuff and give it to you. You give us things that actually help. And so many economies are propped up on this consumerism engine. Like if we stopped trading with a majority of modern countries, they would go out of business very quickly. So that's where we wanted them. And that's important to know because Trump is using tariffs and sanctions. So he is now taking that leverage that we've built for the past 50 plus years and he's turning it against them, saying, hey, for you to survive, You actually need to be paying these tariffs because we aren't going to be around to continue to buy your things anyways. We need to heal ourselves first. So you're going to pay this tariff, and if you don't, we're going to sanction you. And this is exactly why you needed to understand the first bit. A sanction is the weapon. For the past 50 years, you've been, or I guess 70 years, wow, you've been relying on our economy and you've been buying oil in dollars. The second you get sanctioned, you are basically unable to use US dollar in settlement. So you're not able to buy oil and you're not able to trade with the dollar. And since we only trade in dollars, you basically can't trade with America. That is why Colombia, inside of 12 hours, backed down the second he said, "Okay, you don't want to pay tariff? Sanction. You don't want to take your illegal immigrants back? Sanction. Sanction, sanction." I mean, he in the US dollar is our biggest export in treasuries and in actual commerce and trade, and he can turn it into a weapon at any given point because of our foreign policy. And he's going to use it. And those tariffs are going to create a very difficult environment for our economy to keep prices down. These are inflationary pressures. Inflationary pressures. Because basically, the businesses that are buying the products from those countries, they're going to pay a premium, mark to mark. I guarantee you the profits aren't going to change. Just the numbers going to change. Everything's going to get 25% more expensive from that region. And Trump is basically inflicting all this inflationary pressure on our economy. That will not really help the cost of living. That will not really help individuals with having more dry powder, as an example, to invest in crypto. Really, it's just going to fix our economy. And that's really, 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 really critical right now. Because if you are unaware and if you don't know who Fred is, Fred's our homie, everyone. We like Fred. M1, okay. And yeah, that's real. That's not me. I just Googled this, okay. M1 is the amount of money that has been inserted into our economy from the Fed. So Fred watches the Fed, and he's our boy. This is where all of the Fed's data gets visualized for you to interpret. And yes, in his last presidency, and I know for all you Trumpers, it's hard to hear, he printed, we went from 4 all the way to 18 trillion, roughly. Bear with me here. Or maybe is that closer to 5? Yeah, okay. No, it was 4. Okay. We went from 4 to 18. That means he borrowed $14 trillion from the central banks. And he did it in 5 months. 14 trillion. The debt to income ratio has dramatically increased. Either way, the gray, by the way, whenever I show you these charts, the gray is a recession. So you can see here that's Y2K, that's 2008. But consumer debt usually trends downward towards that. I was going to hope that I could find it, but either way, so part of that M1, back to the M1. It basically increased our debt to income ratio in the United States. And I'll find that and release it and talk about it on my channel. from 100 to 120% roughly. It might have been 101 to 119, but you're getting it. He started, they kicked the ball down the hill. Which, I mean, Biden went from 18 to freaking 21, so 2 trillion. I mean, there's probably a surplus of a few hundred billion that we borrow every year. Like our debt to income's stayed at that. I mean, right here we were chilling, and then we were climbing a little bit, stayed at 2% roughly, so like 102%. That's the inflation targets as well to try to keep the economy balanced, right? And then this happened because of COVID, and now Trump is faced with trying to figure out what to do about that. And since he basically started this ball, we are now in a situation where we have too much money in circulation. Prices are going up, and they're going up like crazy. And you have a lot of mismanagement of money. So now that our debt to income is at 120%, we have to become more fiscally responsible. And that's exactly what Doge is for. Department of Government Efficiency. He basically wants to audit every department and have every dollar accounted for. That is not only is it the libertarian wet dream we've been talking about, but that is actually going to help us become fiscally responsible because the government has really only two options: top line or bottom line, right? Bottom line would be you cutting costs to increase profits. Top line would be we need to increase our revenue. Typically, that is increasing taxes. And the cuts would be like getting rid of federal spending, so shutting down some initiatives or departments and so on. Trump is doing both. He's doing both. And he's not even raising taxes. He is doing tariffs instead. He wants other countries to repair this mess and not us. This mess was forced upon him as a president. He faced impeachment if he didn't do something about COVID. He had to print all of this money to try. He's like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right. At least he tried to give us money, give us privileges, right? Gave us a lot of benefits, PPO, all this other crazy stuff to try to keep the economy going, even though it was at a dead stop. He basically was resuscitating it, right? Because the shutdown killed us. We were a dead country without that infusion of cash. So that's the revival, and he wants other countries to pay for it. And he has the leverage to make that happen. So he, in conclusion, because we are getting close to time here, in conclusion, Trump is pro crypto. Trump is pro really America and citizens. So you're going to have a lot of pro things. Like if you own crypto in America for the very first time in your life, you might be making the right decision from the government's perspective, and you might actually have support, and you might actually be seen as someone that's like an early adopter and a genius and whatever. You're going to get the kudos that you've been waiting for a long time, most likely. At least I hope that's how it feels to me, because it's felt like I'm a drug dealer in an alley at times, like when you sit down with people in high finance and you're talking about this technology and they just go like, dude, you're like a forex trader or you're a scam artist, you're the next Sam Bankman-Fried. It's frustrating. It's a challenge, and I'm not saying it's always like that, but you're going to run into this high level of ignorance, the laggards, and they're going to be vicious or they could be mean because of all of the negativity being spewed about this technology. I think that's all coming to an end because of Trump. And you also have the country now fixating, focusing, pursuing the two things that we really need as a country to succeed. And honestly, a big, a big, 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 big portion is remedying that disparity between our debt and income. 20% is bad. Japan got up to 230% debt to income ratio. They had what's called stagflation. Their rates were 0% and they still couldn't stimulate their economy. That is why the Fed has turned hawkish here in America. They still have plenty of room to cut. We could actually go look at that. That's actually right here. Take a look at this. Here we go. So, you want to zoom out? Oh, this is yeah, take a look at that. So, it is up from 6 basis points up to 5, down to 4. And they've stopped cutting, and they promised massive cuts, and they've only cut 100 or so basis points, right? Look how high they were back in the 70s, by the way. For those that didn't know, yes, that's real. It got up to 19%. So you have the Fed, they're taking a defensive posture. They were very dovish, meaning, hey, cuts, cuts, cuts. You're going to get 6 cuts. 25, you're going to get another 2%, 1%. Everyone's like, ah, but out of nowhere, Powell, at the last meeting, you have him saying, I don't know about that. We're giving a 25 bip cut, and then I don't know about any more for a while. And you have analysts saying that there might be no cuts at all in 25. Why would they do that? Well, if the economy is going to have a correction to make up for this deficit, because it's significant, it's huge. They're defending the downside because if the market tanks, they're going to need to cut rates to get people to spend money easier. The main tool in their toolbox is cutting rates or increasing rates. That's their biggest tool, right? Because the government borrows money from them, and that rate determines the interest they make on the money they loaned to the government. It's a big scam, but that's what they're doing. Okay, so our debt payments are over $1 trillion. We are making negative trillions every year, borrowing more, increasing our debt, increasing the payments, and so on and so forth. Japan did that for 30 years and got up to 230% debt to income and now is in stagflation for the past 15 years and can't do anything. They tried to raise the rates 15 bips and 2 trillion got wiped out in a carry trade, which we can talk about in a different video. Either way, my point is America is facing like deer in the headlights. Oh my god, this is really bad. And Trump is doing exactly what needs to happen. We need to focus on the top line, that's the tariffs, and we need to focus on cutting programs and cutting the fat. He is attacking it from both sides. He wants to get our debt to income, I guarantee it, back to a healthy, normal 1 to 2%. That way the inflation and the money can keep growing. It's the only way to grow the GDP. You need a little bit of more money in the markets to froth and swash back and forth to increase GDP. So 1 to 2% a year, that's good. That's a healthy rate of growth. What just happened will dilute the value of the dollar significantly if we don't do something about what has already happened. And Trump's attacking it with full will. So my true objective opinion through all of the research I have showed you is Trump's first 100 days is going to set a standard and precedent that'll ring true for decades to come. Genuinely believe that. I genuinely believe through all of his appointments, through the conversation changing, through his influence, through his interest being pro crypto, and literally everything else that we've talked about on this video today, okay? He's the one. He's who we've been waiting for. And that's my objective opinion. This could have been anyone else. I am not a Trumper for life. I am just grateful that this man has taken such a stance that I'm just glad I'm on his team because he's president now. He's my president, and he's the one that is going to take this asset class to the next level. And I'm glad that he's been infected by the bug. I'm glad that he is getting the biggest organizations in America like the SEC to stop playing these games. He's moving mountains for us, and if you own any crypto, you've made a good decision, in my opinion. This is my opinion, not financial advice. I mean, this is some of the best stuff to really happen for crypto in a very long time. So you need to pat yourself on the back for sticking it through. There's going to be ebbs and flows, but if you're long term on all this stuff, we're just getting started, y'all. You won't believe the kind of money that can be made in this stuff in 10, 20, 30 years. Just have a very long term approach. And don't get disturbed on a bad year or two. It's going to do that. You're going to have some bad years. But it always ends up coming up higher. So stay to your thesis. You should be rejoicing that Trump is our president for crypto specifically. I'm sure there's tons of things that you don't like about him, and that's okay. This is America. We can love each other through our differences. I believe that. Um, Either way, he is great for crypto, and I'm very excited for 2025. I am, guys. So I hope you are too. I hope this was helpful. This is the longest video I've ever done. It was recommended that I do this to help with our watch hours. So please share it, get it out. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, please reach out. I'm a nerd. I talk about this a lot. I think about it a lot. So much so I have a YouTube channel talking about it to get it out here. So thank you so much for tuning in and all the support. I'm very grateful for all of you. Until next time, take care of one another. All right. Peace and love. I'll see you.